Hey Kale, I wanted to leave you some feedback on your rough draft for SE2. I remember seeing this meme, and I think it's a good choice for this paper. I think that you can indeed write an analysis on this paper, on the image. I do think that this submission will need a rounder revision. I would not recognize this as a visual analysis, primarily because there really isn't any analysis going on in the submission, nor is there a clear thesis statement. So analysis papers should be, they're thesis-driven papers, meaning that you need to explicitly state the position that you're taking on the image. In other words, you need to identify what visual elements you are using to analyze the image. So I primarily recommend rereading the assignment description, referring to the lecture over visual analysis that we went over in class. I think the roadmap in the course textbook that discusses analysis would be a good idea. In short, I think you need to re-outline this paper, focusing on a thesis statement and clear key ideas that you will use to unpack the thesis statement and prove it for the audience. That's primarily what you need to focus on here. Let's talk about some other things in this submission. So make sure that you are closing up the extra spacing between all your paragraphs. There's no need for those extra spacing. Second, make sure that you are editing for informal tone along with vague language. So you say everyone knows that 2020 has been a heck of a year. I definitely agree with that. And so you're kind of on the borderline here with using some informal tone. I think you could get away with that if this following sentence was more specific. So you said we've had a lot of ups and downs that have presented themselves in our lives. This is really broad. So you need to identify specifically what you mean here and what audience you're addressing, because the ups and downs for one group is going to be really different than the ups and downs for another group. So for example, while we are all impacted by the pandemic, one person's setbacks and struggles with the pandemic is going to be very different from another's. So I recommend bringing in more context here. You do kind of touch on that in this paragraph. However, it really feels out of place here. This is really an idea that you want to include here. I, however, would do some editing. So for example, saying it's crazy because this is too informal. So I think it's okay to present the idea that there have been quite a few challenges, maybe some unprecedented challenges. But like I said before, you wanna edit for informal tone. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that. You do have some description here, but if I remember this meme, it's a split. It's like a split screen type meme where there are actually two images. So I don't think that there's enough description here to really capture what goes on. Again, you're relying on informal tone here. And I'm not quite sure what you mean by zoomed, in that a meme won't move the way that a camera will move. So you might want to reconsider your choice there. And note that you have some description, but there's no analysis here. So you need to identify what visual elements you're going to use to analyze this image. In terms of your audience, I think you have some contradictory points here. So you say the younger generation, but then you say really the general audience, which would be general audiences are usually 20-year-olds to 50-year-olds who have a college education. but I certainly wouldn't call this group the younger generation. Since the meme mentions teenagers, I wonder if this is really the target audience for the meme. And then you could start there and then potentially argue that 40 and 50-year-olds could also get something out of the meme as well. But you'll have to do some deeper analysis there. You end with a general point here, but I'm not quite sure how this addresses the insights section of the paper. So I think that perhaps you will get there once you go a little deeper with your analysis. And, as I keep suggesting to you, that is the one thing that's really missing from this paper. And I think that that's primarily because you don't have a clear thesis statement. So as I said before, I would review the assignment description, and I would re-outline this paper starting with a clear thesis, and then identifying what key ideas you're going to use to help support that thesis. If you have any questions, please reach out. Okay, thanks.